Yeah, so welcome once again to this evening spiritual feast. And the feast is prepared by every one of us, not by a single person. It's the magic of being together with this set agenda of discussing spirituality, discussing the core identity of us. That makes this occasion very special, very significant, that could have far-reaching effect to oneself, to others, here and after. We saw in the midst of our meditation our capacity for feeling the love, compassion, care of others, as well as others' capacity of extending that, of allowing that, of making that happen. As well as we saw that it didn't take any special degree, academic degree, any special social standing. It only, if at all it takes, is it takes us to go back into our own basic being of who we are, fundamentally, of whom we are, the very basic level. All the structures that we build upon that, and we sometimes get lost into valuing them, overvaluing them, do not matter that much. So we all have that capacity of making that happen, making that magic moment happen for each and every one of us, and of holding on to that, of enduring that, of sustaining that, of reliving that, of going back to that. Did I sound very abstract? Somewhere in the cloud? Well, what I meant is, all we need is love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. All we need is love. Love is all we need. But what is love? That is very important to understand. Maybe we are not doing that good job in understanding love in the first place, and jumping the gun in saying all we need is love, love, love. But what is love? If we don't know, then what good is in accepting that all we need is love? We all need love. All we need is love. Love is all we need, right? Oh, I almost forgot the refrains in the song, right? There can be so many levels of love that we can try to emulate, try to inculcate within ourselves. But at the core, it has to be love. Love is something that we extend to either ourselves or to others. Very often we think of it as something, some quality to be extended to others. To be able to do that in a good way, you should first be able to know what it takes to extend love to oneself. We don't do that good job in loving ourselves. Maybe we do things in the name of loving ourselves, but that do not actually count up to that. Because if we want to love others, and we value how loving others is, we first need to be valuing that on ourselves. And to value that on ourselves, we need to know what are the areas we need to love ourselves for and how. How far things go in terms of really making difference. So in accordance with that, we should be loving to do those things either less or more in terms of how that matters with us. Basically what I'm saying is, with abstractions set aside, basically what I'm saying is getting to know ourselves in terms of who we are, what matters in our life. We all have ample of examples, instances in our life. If we look back, we would have ample examples to relate to as to what really mattered. And all that mattered, all that we would count as something mattered, was something that would have touched us deep at our core. So loving us in such a way that what we do really touches us deep at our core, where we would have unmistaken, unflinching sense of, yes, that was right. We can tell lies to others, but not to ourselves. That's the reason why in the scriptures it says, in everything that you do, there are two witnesses, others and self. Listen more to the self-witness, what it has to say, and work accordingly. Don't just get swayed away by the other witness. Don't rely so much on the other witness and bank on that so much. That may do right, good job, or may do wrong. But this self-witness is the surest witness. So listen to that in terms of what really matters. What really matters, and what are the shortages that we feel. Every once in a while we may feel the shortage of, not this thing, not this thing, not this friendship, not this occasion, not this opportunity, whatnot. But then deep down, it is not so much about outside things. Not so much. I am not denying it totally. Not so much. Not as much as we tend to think of them, but more so of how capable we are in enriching our core within us. And there can be so many ways of enriching the core within us. And likewise, it goes the same in extending that to others. But however difficult it may sound like, yeah, it is. However difficult it may sound like, it is not that difficult. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need. So this needs to strike chord with who we are. This needs to strike chord with our being. One could be scrambling and doing this thing, but neglecting love. That's the core thing. Love at its very core is not inflicting harm. It's based on that, not inflicting harm. And if possible, on top of that, then making the next step of bringing joy, happiness to others. That's it. But with regard to these two things, one cannot, no, not without us. One cannot change the order. First and foremost, one has to work on not harming others. That's something, the first and foremost thing. to be avoided. Only on that basis one can build this second layer that we usually tend to associate with love. But love without that first step of not harming others, ruling out harm against others, love will be empty thing. It could take physical forms this way or that way, whatnot, but it would be an empty love. So in that sense, first we have to do the work of not harming ourselves. And if possible, loving ourselves as that second tier of doing something positive, constructive. So on one's own level, one has to first understand where does harm comes? How do we harm ourselves? From a Buddhist perspective, as well as from our own common experience. Our own common experience of who we are as sentient beings, our own common experience of who we are as animate, feeling capable, experience capable beings. On the basis of this universal law that rules us as sentient beings. The hurt happens when we give in to the afflicted emotions. I repeat this. Those you who have been coming here to the center for long must have heard this repeatedly. That needs to be understood. One has to come to agreement with that. And then focus on working on that level. Very often people think like, oh, anger just comes of its own. Jealousy comes of its own. So, to say that anger is bad, giving in to hatred is bad, doesn't seem to make any sense. It just comes of its own. It just is there. It just is there, that easy, because of our having allowed it again and again and again and again. It's through the habituation. We know some people that, we know people of different talents, how they, to begin with, may have some talent, but then through repeated practice, they become so expert to the point that something which could be so difficult is something that comes naturally to them. How did that come? Through practice, repeated practice, and one gains confidence. Likewise, similar attitude we should have towards these afflictions within us. Anger, jealousy, greed. Sometimes we even think that, oh, anger in this area is justified. So, hatred, jealousy, greed, those are the obstacles, those are the hindrances to our peace. And they start out as a hurtful element within us. First and foremost they do is hurt us at our core of disrupting our peace, calmness, ease. That's the first and foremost thing it does. That's the very function it is associated with. We need to understand that and then deal with that. No matter how difficult it is, how uphill a task it is. That's the reason we begin our sessions. We begin our evening sessions with tatyatha gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi swaha. The state of Buddhahood, the state of bodhi, the state of full awakening of the positive potential, of having cleared away the negative vestiges, the negative I don't know if I could say. I learned one word today. It may or may not, but I will try it so that it stays with me. Negative inflections. that can be achieved. That can be achieved only by keep on pushing, keep on striving. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Or if you will, first gate, second gate, third is the para gate, the fourth is the parasam gate, then you are done. Bodhisattva. So, as of now, we are far away from the first gate even. And we are not necessarily even walking towards that. We take one step and 2 steps back. That area needs to be worked on. And you can see, with that transformation taking place, how everything around oneself transforms. The table remains the same table, the chair remains the same table, same chair, the kids remain the same kids. But in how you affect them, how you feel them, how you relate with them would have been markedly different. Yet at the same time, one will be not crippled to undertake the daily chores, daily works. Instead, one will be even more equipped, more skillful, more productive in the real sense, not necessarily in terms of how much stacks one may build, but in the real sense of contributing to one's own joy, to the genuine joy of others. So that needs to be, that part about our first and foremost obstacles, our first and foremost foe to fight against is the afflictions within us. Once that is fought, once that battle is won, all the battles are won. So we begin to love, we begin to first try to love oneself, love in the true sense. Love in such a way that every move that we make in that direction makes our prospect for genuine happiness, joy, lasting, genuine happiness grow more and more. That's what loving oneself is about. And that should be the way, same to loving others, in enhancing their prospects of love, joy, happiness. That can be done by first having recognized within oneself what is the obstacle, what is the stumbling block within oneself. I think it's Aristotle, long time ago, very long time ago, Aristotle, very long time ago, in the BCs, 4 or 5 BCs, right? Oh, says, all friendly feelings for others are an extension of a man's or women's, humankind's feeling for himself, herself, human self. Pardon? Oh, yeah. All friendly feelings for others are an extension of man's feeling for himself. It's pointing to the fact that it has to grow, start from within, and has to be an extension. In this light, Shantideva in his Bodhicharvatara says the same thing. That's alluding to the Buddhist concept that compassion towards others, love towards others has to begin, grow from self-compassion, self-love. And self-love in a very informed way of knowing what needs to be loved, what needs to be looked at, what needs to be cared at, of what matters. Not mere motion of loving will do. Going into the motions, we have done enough. Enough is enough. We need to be serious in this. This is a serious thing. And that affects not just our own life, the whole of our entire world. And in a crisis time like this, which can any time affect other parts of the world, there is hardly any distance as much as we might want to think. In such time, love, genuine care, love, would really make a difference, would really make us re-evaluate our priorities, set the priorities right, value things for what they are in grades. So Bodhisattva Shantideva says, if those sentient beings, even in their dreams, have never before dreamt of such a mind, even for their own sakes, how would it have arisen for the sakes of others? He's referring to love. If one has not even dreamt of loving oneself in the dream, then to say that I'm going out to love all others is a mere word. That's what he's saying. And this is really the case. To know very often, I do not mean to sound critical. I do not mean to sound unappreciative of others who are doing lots of works and whatnot. Of course, they are having their effect. On top of doing that, along with doing that, not leaving them aside, we need to be doing this job of loving oneself and others in this sense more seriously. Then everything we do would not only grow, but also would go a long way in really making the difference. And who knows, in the meantime, we could even come up with this openness, with this genuine acceptance, openness, we could even come up with unprecedented, unthought of ways of dealing things, some even as simple as anything can be. So basically, at the very core, when we speak of love, it has to have that element of not hurting. Remove the intention, remove the option of hurting someone, no matter what. Remove that out. The first and foremost beneficiary will be oneself. A thorn would have been removed, flung far off. Just rule that out. Say, none of that, no matter what. And to come up with such a sense of decision, such a sense of, such a sense of decision, such a sense of conviction, would require doing some research of one's own inner world, of what really matters, how things can be done. So rule that out, rule that option out once forever. Or at least try, every once in a while, remind oneself to kind of do that. And know, for clarity's sake, know that hurting happens with the motive of hurting in the form of anger, jealousy, and greed. They kind of serve as the seed out of which a concrete, crystallized, manifest intention to harm arises. From there comes the action. And then in the meantime, we become blinded. No, that's the mechanism how it works. And then along with saying that, yes, hurting others, no matter what, is not even the last thing. It is a nothing, no thing. It is not even the last thing. Sometimes people say, this is the last thing I will ever do. No. That's leaving an option, right? To at least resort to it in the last time. No. Even rule that out. And see for yourself how relieved one becomes, how freed one becomes. It's almost like one is caught and entangled in that kind of what do you call, conspiracy, in that kind of a calculation, whatnot. Once you relieve that. one becomes free. And in the midst of that space of openness, lots of other things will come. So that's what it meant. All one needs. All we need, not just you, but we, I, everyone needs is love. Love in this very informed sense of having two-tier component. The basic foundational is no harm. Based on that, then possibly even help out. Remember that love is constituted of both these two. Don't merely limit it to doing something outwardly. That will come. One doesn't need to be impatient for that. But for that to be a genuine one has to see that love takes place within one's mind. Even if one doesn't succeed in really going out and showing it out in some action, concrete action, whatnot, having that, generating that, harboring that itself would have made a difference in how one feels, in how one relates, in how one speaks, in how one connects with people. That ripple effect of influence goes on unended. That goes deep. This is very essential, I feel. I try my best in my own very little fledgling way. From a Buddhist perspective, this will all come down to, this will all be concluded in what you call composed in cultivating bodhicitta. So it's no surprise that in the scriptures it says bodhicitta is the one and all panacea. Bodhicitta is nothing but a crystallization of universal love and compassion. So that part needs to be very clearly understood, what love is. Love is not just romantic love. Of course, there is room for that. But without this carnal truth of love in terms of no harm is there, then even something in the name of romantic love could go totally wrong. Could be so sour the next moment. The next moment when it had felt sweet, the very moment next, it would be so hard, so sour, so blinding. I'm not at all saying romantic love is bad. Not that I have any experiences in it. Oh, maybe some 1-2 instances in the school. Maybe flirting here and there. I will not divulge everything, okay? Don't be afraid. But yeah, I wasn't monk until I was 17, 18, finishing school. So I did have my, shot at some taste of romanticism, whatever. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong in what we do. But love has to be at the core. Love in this unmistakable, uncompromisable sense of being rooted in no harm intended. And if possible, build up the second layer, coat it up with a service, concrete, constructive service. That has to be there. Now, how do we do that? Oh, first and foremost, we have to appreciate, again, growing from one's own observation of who you are at the core of your being. What matters? What drives us? What is the driving force behind everything that we do? Even in the dreams, what we do, anything that we do, what is the driving force? We may disagree with this, we may differ in our opinions, but I think it is. One may call instinct, or one may call the deep-rooted, deep-seated aspiration, whatnot. Instinct, or the deep-rooted aspiration for happiness, in whatever way we may define it for ourselves. In whatever different ways we may evolve in defining it at different stages of our development, whatnot. But one thing for sure, it is the aspiration for happiness, freedom from suffering. That defines the core being of us. So, growing from our own inner awakening to that fact, we have to relate to others on that level. Appreciate that carnal core of their being, of how justified they are, just as you are, how rightful they are in aspiring so, just as you are. At the same time, how messed up you are in terms of how to go about achieving it. How messed up they are in terms of how to go about achieving it, just as you are, very often. So let that be the growing, let that be the ground. Not an optional ground, but a necessary ground for love, to the extent of defining love for what it is. Then anything, any kind of love. Then any kind of love that the Greeks come up with, so expert. Where is it? Yes, it's finally here. Oh. Then it may be romantic, erotic love, ludus, flirting, playful affection, philia, shared experience, philautia, self-love, self-respect, pragma, love which endures between married couples beyond their romantic fantasy era. I don't know what is it. Or maybe stores, the family love the family members have between themselves. Or if that be agape. Agape, the love of humanity, the all-embracing love towards which all we can do is age. I'm playing with the word here. When I looked up the agape word, it has two meanings. One is age, how it is pronounced as age. It's kind of to show being astounded, being amazed by it. And the other is agape. So agape is kind of a love that we have to aspire for. It's the most freeing one. It's like you become one with everyone. Everything that others do, you can be able to relate to that. There will be room for understanding, love, compassion, appreciation, everything will be there. Because one of them become extended in everyone with the force of that love that's going on to everyone. That definitely is a topic to find ourselves age at. It's very interesting in the Buddhist scriptures as well as in the Christian scriptures. In the Christian scriptures, will I be able to recall all the sources or not? I don't know. Well, tonight I will not try. That's not that necessary. But in the Bible, in the New Testament, somewhere Christ talks about loving one's enemies. Loving one's enemy, that goes the furthest. If one can love one's enemy, that's it. one's love has now extended, or at least shown the prospect of extending fully. One is on the pedestals of generating agape, towards which oneself and others would have nothing, no response but to be agay at. I'm playing with the words. So in the scripture it says, those who are capable of generating love towards the enemy, they are the children of God. In the Buddhist scriptures, the bodhisattvas who train in altruism, in really extending their self to embrace everyone, universal love and compassion, not just being confined with that, let that then grow into this flowering attitude, beautiful flowering attitude of bodhicitta. And let that be the driving force to whatever they do, leading them closer every inch, every moment to full awakening for the sake of all sentient beings. So in the scriptures, bodhisattvas are the ones who are termed as the children of Buddha, the sons of Buddha, the daughters of Buddha. So even in terms of our perfecting, or in terms of our attempt to kind of come close to that state of perfection that we so aspire to be close to, that we are so inspired by, the only vehicle to that is agape, is uncompromised love towards all. When he says uncompromised love towards all, is ruling out, not saying towards him, towards her, yes, I will reserve some anger. I feel justified to be angry, hateful, even conspire against. Towards him, no. Towards him, yes, only so long as he or she does. Like that. No, none of that. Actually, in the course of doing that, what one is doing is, one is reserving, one is collecting thorns for one to sit on. That's the reason why we are very often hear, forgiving others is forgiving yourself.
Doesn't Islam say that if someone will harm you, for instance, if someone will harm you and you know that they will harm you?
Pardon?
If someone will harm you, you should take a measure.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's very important. Taking measure. Yes, you're right. But taking measures is not hurting them. One can take measures, and one can take even a better, more thought out, more meaningful, more productive measure, if only one has not given in to hate, given in to hurtful feelings. Because when we are not hurtful, not intending to harm others in return, instead, when we are compassionate, then measures that we come up with would be even more pointed to where it needs to be pointed. It would be pointing to where the hurt is coming from them. Where is the hurt coming from them? Within their mind. That's the area that needs to be recognized, worked at, concentrated on. And to do that doesn't take one to be intending to harm. Within full compassion, one will be able to see that and be even spurred, be even motivated to do that. And when done, that would be the surest way of dealing with the situation. So it doesn't at all rule out taking action. That part has to be very clear. Oh, yeah. Even, yes. And that should be our guiding force, guiding line in dealing with situations. In Bible also, Jesus Christ. Yeah, in that I may have. In that parable of the lady who was accused of adultery, and when everyone was going to stone her to death. Is it so? Okay. So in that, Jesus says, whoever has not sinned can stand up and stone her, not otherwise. Nobody came up to stone her. When Jesus himself asked the lady, did anyone stone? No, everyone shied away. And he says, nor do I condemn you. Nor do I condemn you. You just go and don't commit it again. Likewise, in the Buddhist teachings, by using this analogy of a demented person that comes to a doctor, and then the doctor who has been taking care of him or her kind of spews out, what do you call, blames and what do you call? No. Throws tantrum against him, says awful things, whatnot. The doctor, knowing where this is coming from, would not be angry. Yet at the same time, the doctor would not shy away from dealing with that. And dealing with that, doctor would do not by spanking him or not by throwing it away, but dealing with the dementia within him or her. That's the space it allows. And it allows the space in such a way that that would be the most productive way of addressing the situation. Likewise, by using this as an example, the Buddha in where is that? It's in I think it's in Nagarjuna's root text. Nagarjuna's root text, where he says that just as it is the case with a doctor faced with a patient, whatnot, that is just throwing tantrum against him or her, would have no ill feeling against that person, but at the same time would not shy away from dealing with the situation. Likewise, Buddhas take issue with our afflictions, not with the beings. And we can do the same thing. And that space is allowed when when we generate this sense of affinity with every sentient being. Now, with that kind of acceptance, with that kind of a recognition, then we are free to reel ourselves in any level of love, and everything would go well. Be wrapped up that, it would be only love in name, it would not have that effect. So definitely, love is all we need. But love, well understood, fully explored, fully informed love. Not blind love. Sometimes people have this paradox of really running after blind love, saying, oh, blind love is what I want. I want to be blinded and jump wherever it will take me. Well, how are we doing on time? Is it time to sing along? Sorry. Pardon?
All we need is love.
Yeah, all we need is love, definitely. Pardon? Yes. Yeah, I have. And this is very important. Love, when we understand it in this way, then we can be patient. We can really prove to be patient to others, impatient, incursions. Love, when cultivated, understood, cultivated in this sense. Now, two things I said, right? Love is a two-tier thing. The basic, fundamental, unescapable aspect is no harm, and harm we do by giving into afflictions within us. That's very important. And on top of that, ruling that out or trying one's best. Trying one's best. It is not that easy because we have been so, so run through it, so familiarized, so run through it, that it has almost like become a natural to run through it, run into it. You have to keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. If you keep pulling, it will have no other choice but to give in, to eventually revert. So that is very important. So it's not that easy, but one has to try. At least starting with a sense of caution against getting angry. When you do that, then one occasion may slip away, two occasions may slip away, third occasion may slip away, and you will only recognize after it had already passed, you had already done the damage, whatnot, but you would at the very least recognize what had happened. Eventually that gap will be shortened, and you'll be even able to catch yourself before even getting angry. But one thing very clear, on no occasion can anger, hatred, jealousy, greed be an excuse. On such occasions, if one is met with such a challenge, such a dilemma, then try to be creative to come up with its corresponding positive attitude. One will find. And then let that be the fuel to then spur you to act, not under the influence of anger, jealousy, and greed. Driving one's car under the influence of alcohol is dangerous. Driving one's life under the influence of afflictions, DUI, no matter what, is bad. It is bad. So, and then when we really root ourselves in that kind of a love, let that be the uncompromised, essential component of whatever our levels of relation may be, with brothers, sisters, family members, parents, teachers, strangers, familiar, unfamiliar strangers, whoever, even including enemies. Even including enemies. Oh, I mean, many of you already know, enemies, they can be a wonderful, wonderful source, very, almost like undeniable force, undeniable reason to be even more thankful, more grateful, more compassionate, whatnot. So if we let that be the starting point, let that be the seed to grow from, all of our relationships, all these kinds of love, growing into agape, can be assured to be a good thing to have, can be assured to be an asset to have, to grow into. So once we have that, then just as in the Corinthians, it says, the 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. We wouldn't be as pushy of our own agenda if we have that kernel of love within us. Very often, it comes in our way of relationships. I say this, you say this. I want this, you want this. I want to go there, you want to go there. Like that, right? And that snowballs into who knows what, so many hurts. It is not irritable, resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. This is the way. Love is all we need. All we need is love. With this note, we stop here. Maybe a minute or two before.